and Sicily is pretty much the underdog. As far as development, I mean, it's incredibly old. There were people living on the island around 4000 BC, so we've got humans have been residing here for a fat minute, and but it's always been sort of isolated. To this day, there is still they've talked and talked about building a land bridge. I mean, building a bridge from basically Sicily to uh, Calabria, but that has still not happened. So it's still isolated, and it is outside of kind of the big hubs of say Palermo or the very luxurious Taormina. It is still fairly poor, fairly underdeveloped. As I said, there's really only one road that goes around the island, so it takes a while to do that. You have to dissect kind of through more two-lane highways and things like that. So there's still a lot of infrastructure that still needs to be built in, but Sicily is just it's a magical place because it's been occupied by everyone. I mean, the Greeks, the Romans, the Etruscans, uh, numerous invading armies, the Spanish, the French. I mean, it really it goes on and on and on, and that's kind of provided a little bit of I mean, it's left its influence for certain. So with respect to wine, the history of Sicily is kind of interesting. I mean, again, wine has been grown here, I mean, for 6,000 years. Now, that's not to say that they were making great wine 6,000 years ago. They were probably using more indigenous varietals, things that, grapes that you might find growing along a waterway or in the mountains, kind of by themselves. So they didn't really, I mean, while they were making wine, it probably wasn't that great. When it really kind of took a turn was during Greek and Roman occupation, because those cultures were really into wine. They had learned things about um, cultivating the vine, and certainly how to store it. They developed amphora and techniques for aging and transporting. So there was a lot of development through Greek and Roman times, but um, it the in the modern times, I mean, we're going back to maybe even the 80s and early 90s, maybe even through the 90s. The general quality of Sicilian wine on the international market was very middle of the road. For the most part, their customers were, I mean, oversimplification here, but the bottom shelf of an English grocery store. They were not attempting to make great wine. They were not using, by and large, the grapes that they have at their, I mean, that they naturally have had for millennia. They were making Cabernet, they were making Chardonnay, Merlot, and things that had a, what we would consider international varietals. And they were fine. Uh, but they weren't really, I mean, you weren't going to clear out your wine cellar to restock it with, a Cabernet from Sicily. But what kind of changed things in the late 80s and early 90s, there were a number of winemakers who really believed, I mean, you kind of talk to Sicilians and they will say they're always Sicilian first. They are Italian, but they're always Sicilian. And they're very proud of their heritage. And so in the late 80s and early 90s, there were a group of winemakers who decided, we really need to reclaim what we are as Sicilians in our wine world. We don't, why are we making grapes that are native to France when we should probably be making grapes native to Sicily? So There were a number of wineries. Probably the two of the most famous. There's a winery called Planeta, and they have properties. I think they have about 6 or 8 properties throughout Sicily, all different soils, different microclimates. So they're really not trying to make the same wine in 6 places. They are very much different wines, but Planeta, well funded. Um, and they decided they were going to pivot to making cellar worthy, wine consumer worthy wines. The other producer who was really instrumental, a famous winemaker named Ariana Occhipinti. She Her uncle was a winemaker and traveled with him. There's every year in Italy there is a big wine expo called Vin Italy, and Ariana went with her uncle in the early 90s to Vin Italy, and she was sort of disappointed because she said, Uncle, we make great wine. We should do better. So Ariana started making wine. I think she was 21 or 22 when she undertook the the chore of being a winemaker. But to this day, one of Sicily's most noted winemakers, and still very much a leader in the world wine in the wine world, for kind of being, be true to yourself, be true to your country, your terroir, your culture. If you do something a certain way, don't change. That's, you should sell. I mean, wine, there are a lot of ways of consuming alcohol. Wine is one of those unique beverages that does, if you allow it to, it has a place. It tells you where it's from. And to be able to sit in your living room and travel to another country, another hemisphere, another time in history, that's what makes wine special. And so Sicily is really, I mean, it's been a nice pivot. Today, we still don't have the greatest offering of Sicilian wine, but the quality has taken a pretty noticeable jump. The wines are interesting and have, great stories, and there's a reason to drink them. So I'm really excited. I was in Sicily a couple weeks ago, and it is a beautiful country, wonderful people, phenomenal food,
Yeah.
just history out the wazoo. I mean, you find Greek and Roman uh, remnants everywhere. Sadly, because it is a fairly poor country, garbage collection is not the greatest, and it's a weird juxtaposition to see, an old refrigerator dumped next to, what might be a former Greek theater or something. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, not to say that they don't take care of their national treasures, but it is a poorer part of Italy, and that kind of shows. But beautiful place. I highly recommend it. I would say that it does probably take a little time to get around, because transportation is not, you can't easily hop on a train. You can't get in a car and be there easily. It takes a little bit longer to move around, but very much worth the effort. So that said, let's kind of dive in here. I'm gonna take over, and let's see.
That's Sicily.
Hold on, I need to pull that up. Can everyone see? Are we
Hmm.
good?
Yeah.
All right. So, let's start with hold on. Let me start this. Hold on. Doo, doo, doo. Come on. Everybody still see it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
excellent. Okay.
it's
All right.
small.
It is smaller.
Yeah, on my screen.
Um,
If you could make them full screen,
I'm not.
I wish I could help you with that.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I'm not.
Well, we could see it before. We could see your computer screen around it, but it was larger. If that's helpful.
Sorry. All right. Well, so
Okay.
this does work. I'm struggling to get the
Okay.
the screen that I would like. Um, no. Anyway, okay.
All
So
right.
Sicily, where we are going to start is the Hybelian Mountains. So down kind of at I don't know what would that be like the 5 o'clock.
Okay.
There is a region, a province down there called Ragusa, and it sits in the foothills of these mountains, and it's a cool place. So the town, um, uh, Caliente, I'm gonna forget it. Anyway, this town right here. Um, Caliente de Golfe. Anyway, was a fortress many moons ago because it you can kind of see there has a commanding view of the valley. On clear days, you can see Etna. You can see the ocean. So you're you know as a for a vantage point, this was really an ideal location. It was originally settled by Greeks, and so it's been here many moons and used really again by as a vantage point for security. The farm is called Piano Grillo Farm. Originally, they were olive oil producers. It's interesting. This area is actually very famous for their olive oil. That's kind of the key industry of this little hamlet, and the soil is both well suited for wine and olives. Olives they generally do like the same environment. In this case, the soil is like clay, a little bit of volcanic, but not much. It's further, far enough away that it doesn't have uh, heavily volcanic soil, so more calcareous clay. And olives love that. They don't they like to like the grapevines sort of like to struggle and search for water. And so this is a great environment to do that. So Piano Grillo started out at producing olive oil organically, and then about 10 or 12 years ago transitioned into grapes. Um, it's kind of cool. Sicily has had enough grape growing experience to know what works and what doesn't work. And if you look at the grapevines out there, they sort of look like little ficus trees.
Hmm.
And that is there are many advantages to that particular vine training. The French call this guillot, but it basically causes you don't train the shoots along a wire or anything like that. You actually get the vine to create its own canopy. It is they these are you can tell because there's still stakes there. These are fairly young vines, but eventually the vines will not need a stake. They will hold themselves up. They'll carry their own weight. But that the way the canopy works, first of all, it shades the fruit, so it protects it from sunburn. It also shades or or provides a coverage of the drip zone. So if it rains and those leaves get moisture on it, those leaves are going to drop the moisture right around the drip zone on the vine and essentially water it. So it is also, because there's not a lot of excessive canopy, it's also great in places that have low rainfall. And unfortunately, right now, Sicily is in severe drought. I mean, they're usually not getting a ton of water, but they are now going kind of between lengthy periods of no water, or as happened while we were there, Palermo actually had severe flooding because they just got a ton of water in a couple hours, and I mean cars were floating down the street. So you know, in much of Sicily, it's kind of feast or famine right now with water. But so the vines are designed to adapt to their environment. So this geo training is really an effective use, and you see this throughout. You really don't see vines trellised in the way that we would normally see them. I mean, actually, that's not true. There are some areas where they do get more moisture on Mount Etna, but for the most part this is a fairly common trellising technique. There's a little closer
Mhm.
up view, but yeah, I mean, it really it's brilliant. It saves water, and what water does arrive will hopefully remain in the drip zone. So there you can kind of see the valley. It is obviously very arid. You can't really tell, but yeah, there are a lot more olive trees there than there are grapes.
Mhm.
There's an example of one. We will eventually, shameless promotion, we will eventually get their olive oil in my store. The harvest has not taken place yet, but they're expecting really, really high quality this year, and so we're very excited. But that's one of their gnarly old olive trees that is about to get a haircut.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. All right. So I'm gonna pull back here.
Oh, there you go. It's bigger now. Beautiful tree.
Gorgeous tree. Yeah, I mean let's see. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing and I am back. All right. So the first wine that we're going to taste is Piano Grillo's Frappato, rosé actually of Frappato. So Frappato is a grape native to Sicily. It is uh, fairly, I would say, light to medium bodied. Um, it doesn't have a ton of tannin, although you definitely kind of feel some drying tannins, small grain tannins when you taste it. But it's more in the vein of say Gamay, like Beaujolais, or a lighter bodied Pinot, or maybe even Sangiovese. But what I like about this pairing is we'll try the same grape, and the only difference is in how it was treated, or the main difference rather is how it was treated in the winery. They probably picked the grapes for the rosé a little earlier just because they want a little more acid. But for the most part, this is you can kind of see what the winery is doing to change the profile. So in the case of the rosé, Frappato grapes were harvested, probably not as ripe as they would harvest if they were making a still red. They then ferment it in stainless steel and under a cool temperature to retain that brightness. The skins are probably removed from the juice within hours, you six maybe. And once the skin is removed, there's not going to be any additional color imparted, but it has enough flavor. I mean, the skin, as we always say, the skin contains most of the color and most of the flavor and most of the aromas that you want. And the juice inside the grape is really just the kind of the chemical stew that makes everything work. But the skins provide color and flavor. And in the case of the rosé, you don't want a ton because obviously you're trying to make a rosé. So this wine, it has this beautiful kind of wild strawberry pomegranate thing, which I love. I love it when a wine kind of reflects the fruits that you see right now, like when we were in the markets in Sicily, pomegranates were everywhere. In fact, they would even sell you a pomegranate just to eat as you're walking. So you can kind of smell that pomegranate. You can kind of smell that it's not a strawberry that's super ripe and blood red. It's a little, maybe a little, the wild strawberry has that more of that white flesh or light pink flesh. So it's not as ripe as some strawberries, but yeah, just a beautiful fruit-driven nose. There's a little dustiness in the wine. I love Frappato, so I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, bright acidity. Um, Kind of that fruit washes over the palate. This is a wine that, on a hot day, you pour a glass. I've found that if I have this too cold, it kind of closes down. So for
Mhm.
anybody who has a particularly cold bottle, maybe give it a little time to see. Just you'll notice it'll change. You'll get more aromas kind of released into the glass. You might notice a little more of that cherry berry tone or strawberry berry tone on the palate, but um, a really nice bright wine, wine that you would have at the end of the day, sitting out with friends, with charcuterie. Of course, being Sicily, they eat a lot of seafood. And you go into a restaurant, and this is sort of controversial in some circles, just given um, the brilliance of octopus, but pulpo, a little plate of octopus tentacles and dressed with olive oil, and this wine is really sublime. I actually, because they have um, they've been consuming octopus for millennia. I think I'm okay here. They do manage their fisheries very well. And I apologize. It's just so delicious. But yeah, we had a number of conversations about it, but I generally don't eat much of it in the United States, but in Spain and in Sicily, I think that I take the liberty. Um, but anyway, questions on the rosé
How
or
is it? What do you all think? It sounds delicious. I don't have any.
well, rosé is one I am a big fan. I think that we've had a number of tastings where we focused on rosé. It's a wine that is not really intended to bring you the meaning of life. There's not it doesn't tell you a story so much as it's just supposed to make you smile
Mhm.
and feel a little refreshment and maybe prepare to segue into a larger meal or something like that. But no, I'm a big fan of rosé, and again, when it's blazing hot outside, and you sit down in a cafe for a glass of wine, a delicious dry rosé in Sicily is definitely worth the price of admission.
Sounds
I
good.
have
We
I
could,
have
Really
a
surprised
question.
by the color
Hmm.
of rosé. It's was quite striking.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that's yeah. I mean the so Frappato doesn't have an overly thick skin. It is it's a lighter skinned grape. So when it imparts color, for example, the red frappato, I don't know. I didn't look up the text sheet to see how long the grapes sat with the juice, but it could have been weeks. It requires a lot of maceration time kind of to get that color out. But yeah, this color is just this like beautiful like salmon, pale rose, just I mean, that's another beautiful thing about it. I mean, it's a beautiful color to look at.
Mhm.
If you know, I mean, you can imagine. I mean, it's. I think I typically do think of rosé more in the spring and in the summer, and this just kind of has that color in it. You know, it's maybe a little bit of a sunset. You know, it's ripe fruit at the fruit stand. I mean, it just yeah, it's. But the color is beautiful.
I had a question. It's kind of in general, but applies to these. I see both these wines are organic. And
Yes.
there's especially in Europe, there seems to be a really big shift to that. I know we're doing a bunch of it here too. Is that a primarily agricultural issue? And I'm not against it. I'm certainly in
Mhm.
favor of it.
Mhm.
Does it in any way affect or change the taste, the quality, how difficult it is to make a wine, what you want to make it,
Mhm.
being organic versus not being organic? Or is it just an agricultural issue, so to speak?
Well, so that's I mean that's a tough issue. I mean I well, let me speak specifically to the organic nature of these wines. Europe is in some respects it's not so much that Europe is uh you know aggressively has aggressively promoted organic farming. The reality is because grapes have grown in certain places for certain lengthy time periods, um, there there are some areas that I mean, well, let's talk about this one specifically. Why is it easy for them to be organic farmers? Well, oftentimes, two things that provide a threat to grapes. One, monocultures. So if all you have is one crop growing in one area, if you have an outbreak of something, that outbreak is probably going to be well served because it's got all the things it needs to reproduce and to continue on. When you don't have monocultures, it makes it harder for vineyard pests to move. So that's the first thing. The second thing is moisture is responsible for a lot of problems that require human intervention. Well, in this particular case, there is a severe lack of moisture. So where you have certain wine areas where you might get fog in the morning, if that area isn't perfect, and there are areas where you know, particularly in the Rhone Valley in France, um, you get areas where it's very moist in the morning, but then by an afternoon, a wind starts blowing. I mean, it's almost like a fan turns on and it
Mm.
dries the place out. And so it's a lot easier to be an organic farmer when you have nature doing the work for you. So there are a lot of places in the old world that are like that. I mean, you know, areas in Spain, they have the same thing. They don't need to irrigate. The vines are trained to struggle. And they because it's fairly arid, they don't have issues with mold and mildew. So they don't have to spray for them or they don't have to treat for them. So that's kind of, I mean, there are certain places in the planet that are easier that where nature is doing a lot more work in pest management than humans have to. So that's one thing. Another thing is, it is in the United States, it's a challenge to be an organic farmer because all it takes is for your neighbor to not be an organic farmer, and now you have to deal with that. I mean, even in our own Douglas County, there are grape growers that lose significant. I mean, really, far more than they should lose rows of grapevines due to overspray.
Yes.
So somebody's treating their you know soybean field for something, and that I mean they've discovered it really um, the application of those treatments travel a lot further than they thought. I mean, most people think, oh well, if it's not being sprayed by a crop duster, it's okay. No, no, it moves. And so if you have, I mean, in this area, probably I would guess most people are organic farmers in this part of Sicily, just because it's easy to do and there's really no incentive to be conventional. Um, so we in the United States we do have more challenges. We have areas that, one might argue maybe we shouldn't be growing grapes here. We haven't grown them that long in many of, I mean, our country's just not that old. So, these guys have had thousands and thousands of years to find out exactly where to grow the best grapes and olives and whatnot. And we're still kind of learning the ropes.
Mhm.
But so the question you had about quality, that I would argue that when organic farming works well and makes a delicious wine, it is absolutely worth it. Um, but there are a lot of products that are marketed exclusively because they're organic or biodynamic. And quite honestly,
Can't hear you. We lost your sound somehow.
You went silent.
There you are.
am I
No.
back? No?
Yeah.
Yes, now you are.
Okay. Okay. So I'll back up.
Okay, thanks.
And we're all good now?
Yes, so
Okay,
far.
okay. Okay. Yeah, my internet I think just blipped a little bit, so I apologize.
That's all right.
Um no, so yes, when biodynamic and organic farming work and the wine is good, it's a win. I mean, it sounds funny, but no, there are a lot of wines that are marketed really solely because they are organic or biodynamic. And I taste a lot of them and I'm just like, I don't know why anybody would want to drink this. I guess maybe I would prefer some Roundup to some of the wines that I've had that were grown, in made in certain methods. I mean, it really it's a I don't think it's an either or maybe, yes, organic. I would argue that if you make a great wine and you do it organically or biodynamically, you're better than the conventional farmer also making good wine. But and there is the issue. I mean, farmers need to they need to take care of their land if they want it to continue. And so the idea, in fact, this winery, Piano Grillo, was just purchased, in fact, by Ariana Occhipinti, who is a biodynamic farmer. So her approach, and we've talked about biodynamic. It's sort of organic on steroids. But the general approach to biodynamic farming is, if you want these vineyards behind me to produce good grapes, you need to make sure that the forest surrounding the vineyard is healthy and that it's more of a holistic thing. So, and I think that makes sense. I mean, if having healthy having a healthy ecosystem is better than not. And so I guess I'm not willing to buy poor examples of winemaking, whether regardless of how they were made. But when they do pull off a wine and prove that great wine can be made in a way that is respectful to its source, I absolutely support that, and I would deliberately choose those products over others.
Mhm.
Any other questions on the rosé? Still, I love that nose. I mean, it smells like delicious fruit. All right. So now we have the frappato. Different. I apologize. I consumed most of my. Oh, there we go. See if I can't do a comparison here.
You can see it.
There we go. Anyway,
Yeah.
Um, the the rosé, I mean, again, short contact, this one longer contact. But even in the nose, I mean, there are some similarities. You still get those kind of wild strawberry notes, the pomegranate, but now you're getting, maybe a little darker fruit, definitely some spice. It has a deeper voice, I guess. And this is, it also will have a little more tannin, so deeper color, little fuller bodied, more spice. Typically, the way this wine is made is they will put it. Sometimes they will use primarily concrete tanks. Sometimes they will use clay amphora, but often they will use very old, not new wood, not something that would impart a lot of wood flavor, but they will use large oak barrels for aging these wine for fermenting these wines and aging these wines to give it a little more structure. The wood has tannin in it, and that will impart a little bit into the wine. But yeah, I love that wine. Again, lots of nice fresh fruit, a little bit of spice. The tannic structure, maybe more like tea, like a English tea. So it's dry, but it's not like you're chewing on walnut skins. But this profile, I mean, Sicilians love to eat, love to eat, and they eat a lot of different things. I mean, even though they are surrounded by the ocean, and they do get a lot of their food from the waters surrounding the island. Their produce is absolutely spectacular. They raise there are a couple interesting varietals. They raise beef, but there's a black-footed pig. And the easiest way to describe it is it would be similar to, say, Spanish jamon, or like a Iberico, or the pigs that are raised for prosciutto. Um, Beautiful marbling. They organically fed. They do not, they graze on acorns and things like that, and good things. But so Sicilians love their pasta. And they love the dining experience. So they want wines that are going to work with their food. And the nice thing with Frappato is, you could have either of these wines really, with pork, with chicken, with a piece of fish. They're not so dry and so tannic that it would overpower a lot of foods. Loves tomatoes. The fruitiness of the tomato really gets drawn out by a wine like this. You get the acid. You notice more of the sweetness in the tomato. Um, but yeah, tomatoes. Gosh, what else? I mean, it really is. It's a wine that you could sit down to a pasta meal, and stay through the fish course and just really enjoy it. Rich cheeses. It's been like that as well. So, but yeah, so it's a cool contrast. You get to see what minimal skin contact in the winemaking process makes a little more skin contact. But I mean, to me, this is a wine that it's unique. It has a flavor profile and aroma that won't get lost with 10 other wines, that I mean, I guess I've I really do believe that the worst wine is not horrible these days. I mean, the worst wines are not inherently bad. They're just boring. There's just no reason to drink them. And so I like wines like this that kind of provide that this is not I don't find this flavor profile. I don't find this style in every wine I'm drinking. But I love it when I have it. Any thoughts on this guy?
I see a thumb up.
Now, I opened my bottle last evening to
Mhm.
try it, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I go,
Nice. No, that's exactly I mean, yes. Well, and actually I'll tell you, the nice thing, I found this to be more true than not, but ancient wine regions, the grapes that they tend to use well, um, often have the ability to endure aging. So
Mm.
certainly these wines could age, but what I like most is once the bottle is open, you might drink off of it a couple days, and it might even get better, or maybe not better, but different. You might notice things differently. It's not going to fall off a cliff. Uh,
but isn't that why you decant a bottle? Uh,
sure, yeah, no,
use a decanter many times to let it.
yes.
You're right.
Well, the thing is, yes, for some wines. There are certain wines that unfortunately, um, and some of it is winemaking, some of it is, I mean, there are a lot of things that affect this, but there are times where I will taste a wine one day, and if I go back to it the next day, it really is not showing as well as it did before. And what I've typically found is like old world wines. The ancients wanted to make sure that they could store their produce. I mean, that was really what how winemaking came. Well, I think they probably also liked the alcohol because I mean, if you're a cave person, that probably was a nice relief from the burdens of being a cave person. But if you were, you really, as we evolved, you really wanted to, you had this harvest in October or September, maybe even late August, and you wanted to hold on to that. You weren't going to consume it all in the next couple weeks or months. And so the grapes that they chose were often grapes that had more ageability, just naturally, just their chemistry for whatever it was. This wine, left in a clay pot for a couple months, still was delicious. And that other one that we had, it didn't really do much, and then it kind of turned to vinegar after a couple weeks, and we had to, do something else with it. So I really like these wines for that reason too. You can have a couple days of drinking it, and like I said, it over the next couple days, if you still have some in the bottle, it probably will change. It probably will have different flavors and aromas that you start noticing more or less as it oxidizes, as it opens up.
Yeah, and I've been at dinners where you open a bottle, primarily reds,
Mhm.
and at first taste, it's not quite there, and the waiter says, "Oh, do you want to replace it with?" And we go, "No, no, 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 just let it sit for the appetizer or the preemie, and even 45 minutes, an hour later, it's wonderful."
Mhm.
So there's
Well, and that's, the unfortunate thing is, I mean, in my own experience, I found, sadly, I mean, I've talked to people who have purchased wine for wine tastings, and they may even be wines that I know very well, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, we dumped that one because we just didn't get it." It's like, "Oh, how long did you let it open?" And that's sometimes, the immediate gratification, the demands of for immediate gratification lead people to assume that something isn't going to happen. And that's another thing about wine. Wine is supposed to kind of slow you down a little bit. You're probably supposed to sit at the table and talk with your friends a little bit longer while you wait for the wine open. I mean, that's one of the one of the side effects that.
and of course the other side effect is, okay, let's let that one rest and order another bottle.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. No, you're still thirsty. But no, that is, unfortunately, maybe that would be a better sales technique in restaurants where they deliberately pour you your first one that's really tight and needs time, and then then the second bottle comes pretty quickly. But no, I think this wine, I'm gonna hold on to my what's left of my bottle. Well, I'll probably have another glass tonight, but I will hold off some just to see how it's transitioning, because this wine just was released. These were in Italy about 2 months ago, so they are just you're some of the first in the American market to try these new vintages. But um, it is. I was particularly, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Ariana Occhipinti, and we actually, when we were visiting Piano Grillo, we couldn't understand why we weren't getting an email from somebody I'd talked to, and I started getting emails on the email chain. One of the emails was Ariana Occhipinti's email, and I couldn't understand that. And then we discovered that they've actually just purchased it recently, and I don't know even if I have not seen it announced, but it has happened. So you will. This is not a huge producer. I mean, they do like 30,000 bottles a year, which there are wineries that will spill that much on the floor. And this is, and so it's not gonna, they're not gonna increase production just because Ariana purchased it. It will still be a boutique winery. But no, I would encourage everyone to give Sicilian wine an interesting, I mean, give it some attention. It's very much worth it. Sadly, I will say that this wine is reflecting the latest round of tariffs. The last time I purchased this bottle, I think it's now 25 to 27. But the last time we had these bottles on the shelf, they were 21. So we're already seeing that kind of take a hit. I'm hoping that, I mean, this is a small producer. They're not really in the position to discount a lot of their stuff simply because they don't make enough they don't have the ability to do that. And I understand that. A lot of, we are seeing pricing creep on some things, but it really is still kind of a case by case. But yeah, when this arrived, we were definitely aware that the tariffs were included. So sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's not your fault.
Well, and also unfortunately, 100% of that markup is paid for by Americans.
Yeah.
Tragically.
So as we're chatting here, an idea came up of maybe including in one of these sessions not just the wine, but the serving of the wine.
Oh, certainly.
You know, like
Absolutely.
I said, you know, do you decant or do you have to use special glasses?
Yeah.
I don't think you have to use special glasses. Any glass that holds a swallow of wine is good, but you might think, you know, how do you serve it? How do you present it?
Certainly.
It's just an idea.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. And I'd be happy to do that. I mean, there's wine service. There are some things that are done for ceremony. There are some things that are done for tradition, and then there's some things that are done because it really does have a noticeable improvement on the experience. So yeah, no, I maybe what we can do is next month we'll kind of split the time, and we can maybe spend half the time talking about service and glassware and things like that.
That sounds interesting to me. I think it'd be
Absolutely.
helpful. I don't know much about it, but I do know a red wine has to breathe, whatever that
Yes, I
means.
mean it is. I mean the thing is, it's not even 100% of red wine does. There have been some changes in the way wine is made in the last 15 to 20 years that has really kind of rewritten the rules on on having decant for opening up a wine. There's some techniques that, I mean, essentially, I mean, to kind of condense the concept, basically they will add in more oxygen to the wine before it goes in, before the cork gets into it. So it doesn't need the oxygen because it's already there. It's already opened up.
Uh-huh. We
So
had a quick question here.
um,
How long can the, let's see, let me find it. How long can the rosé age?
so rosés, there are definitely rosés in the world that do in fact age, in some cases, 5+ years. Um, I have to say, just personally, they get more savory when that happens. And I guess what I love about a glass of rosé is that if it's really hitting, it's a like a visit to a fruit stand. Like every fruit in there is just exploding, And so I guess I generally like rosés with less age on them. I mean, this is, I think, a 2024 uh rosé. And certainly the 23s and the 22s are still drinking well. Well, most of them are. But I guess I love the vibrancy. The acid is popping. The freshness of the wine is really up there. So I guess I kind of like the I like younger rosé. I mean, just as a preference, I think rosé. One of the joys of rosé is its ability to convey fresh fruit.
Mhm.
And while again the older rosés have their own characteristics, they're interesting wines. They do get it. They do tend to be a little more savory, and the freshness of the fruit. I mean, the fruit might start turning into dried fruit instead of fresh fruit,
Mhm.
and still good. I mean, that's a preference thing, but I guess I really do like. I love tasting rosé right when it's been released. I yeah, that's it. Just there's an electricity that the wine has when it's younger that I
Kind of
like.
like fresh fruit and fruitcake.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, and again, there's nothing wrong with the dried, preserved, stewed. Those flavors are still fruit. That's fine.
Mhm.
But but the vibrancy of the wine is really unique to rosé. Rosé is
Mhm.
just bright. It's a glass of sunshine. It's a day at the beach. That's what I love about rosé, and so I guess I like that in its best form.
Well, and we're going to be missing that with these days getting shorter and
Well, oh wait, no, I've got to
wearing
I've
our
got to make a plug.
sweaters.
I've got to make a plug. No, rosé is definitely a year-round thing.
Okay.
What we will do as it gets colder, I mean, obviously we won't have as much rosé on the shelf that is just released. I mean, the Southern Hemisphere will release their rosés here probably end of November. We'll start
Mhm.
seeing Southern Hemisphere wines get released.
Mhm.
And those have that brightness too. But
Mhm.
no, as the weather gets a little colder, there are different styles of rosés that are a little fuller bodied.
Mhm.
And so we will pivot to those wines. They have a little more stuffing to them,
Mhm.
but and the fruit is still there, but maybe a little drier on the palate, maybe a little bit more tannin, often more color.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're definitely rosés for cold weather drinking.
That sounds wonderful. Although I think I don't know much about it, but I know it seems like you want the darker wines in the winter time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Goodly
Well,
port, Bob.
yes, yeah. Well, we also eat heartier foods,
Yeah.
and as our menu gets a little fattier, a little richer, a little fuller bodied, we kind of want our wines to do that as well.
Yeah, to get that way, as we get that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Steve. You know
Oh,
so
my
much,
pleasure.
and we will count on maybe 30 minutes of how to properly serve certain kinds of
Yeah,
wine
yeah,
and that Gary mentioned, kind of how do you handle it.
sure.
We like to drink it, but and if that enhances the experience,
Mhm.
rather than impress the neighbors, we'd like to know more about that. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. And
Absolutely.
any more questions? We all happy? You're going to finish your wine tonight? I wish I had some. Come on out to Lone Star. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Enjoy this lovely day. And
Yes.
the leaves are going to turn colors any minute. And uh, it's just been a joy to be with you. And thanks again, Steve. We always learn so much. And
Thank you so
welcome
much.
back from Sicily. I'm glad that the Godfather didn't find you.
Right.
Okay. We'll see you later. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.